A Saudi woman who filmed a clip appearing to show her husband cheating on her with their housemaid could now face prison because of the nation's defamation laws. Now, the woman secretly shot the encounter between her husband and the maid on her phone. And as she shared the footage on social media, she also wrote the caption, "The minimum punishment for this husband is to scandalize him." The video has since went viral across Saudi Arabia, most people supporting the wife, but because of the strict laws enforced, especially on women in Saudi Arabia, she now faces the jail time and a hefty fine. Really seems fair, doesn't it? Well, first of all, we do actually have a little clip of the video. It's quite disturbing, but let's take a look at this video that was then shared on social media. Yeah, it really appears that he was forcing himself on this maid as well. You can sort of see her squirming. So, you know, not a nice thing at all that's going on, but it's actually sparked this fierce debate. There are people on both sides of this debate on social networks across Saudi Arabia, some in support of him, some in support of his wife. Those in support of his wife have said things like, "You did the best thing here because there was an urgent need for revenge and your revenge is the best." But when you're now looking at the fact that she faces a year in a Saudi Arabian prison along with a hefty fine, it really just makes it impossible for these women to stand up for anything that they believe in out there. It sets this kind of precedent.
Oh no, of course, and we see so much abuse by these domestic workers that come from abroad to Saudi Arabia to send back money to their families in their poor country. Saudi Arabia has a lot of money, so much so, and it's become such a problem that countries in Africa like Mauritania have literally stopped allowing people to go to Saudi Arabia because of the sexual abuse, because of the violence that goes on. These women are promised jobs as, if mostly nurses, domestic workers, things that they want to do, and they think that they have experience in, and they get there and they end up winding up being more like a slave, getting paid less than they were told, more hours than they were told, and it doesn't pan out exactly at all, actually, how they thought it would. And this happens in a lot of places. I mean, the Arab Emirates, for example, too. We see the same sort of abuse from a lot of people coming from Southeast Asia, from poor countries in Africa as well. So really sad. And pardon me for making this huge leap comparison here, but we experience the same thing in the States a lot. We see a lot of illegal immigrants coming here and subject to abuse because they can't go to the police because they're illegals and they're exploited, they're kept in the houses, sexually abused a lot of the times as well. So unfortunately this happens all over the world, and as far as the cheating goes, I feel like only in Saudi Arabia can a woman get in trouble for exposing her cheating husband.
And not just in trouble, but a year in a Saudi Arabian jail is what's likely. Majid Karoub, who's the top Saudi lawyer, said she'll likely face that and around the equivalent of a $133,000 fine. And it's because of this Saudi Arabian law they have with regards to technology. Here's a quote. He said, "This law on information technology crimes includes stiff punishment for anyone using mobile phones with a camera or other equipment to photograph others and defame them."
It's bullshit.
In general, outside of Saudi Arabia here, if someone publicly exposes their spouse because their spouse is cheating, let's remember marriage is a legal contract.
Yes.
Should someone be allowed to publicly expose their spouse if they go against that?
What do I think personally? I think you should. If your husband's cheating on you, well, he's an asshole and he deserves it, right? But can you imagine what would happen if a woman cheated on her husband in Saudi Arabia? Off with their head immediately, right? It's not fair, and these laws are put in place to suppress women. This is probably the move by this man's lawyer to switch flip the switch and get her in trouble. Meanwhile, she didn't really do anything wrong.
Well, some people are obviously saying it's a private matter and that this should have been kept private, especially if she has children. At the end of the day, though, this woman is standing up for something she believes in. She's been brave enough to make a stand about this in a country where obviously we know the restrictions that are imposed on these women. There are outrageous stories coming from Saudi Arabia every single day. This woman, who has stood up for what she believes in, is now facing a year in prison. What do you think of this story at home? And in general, if a spouse is cheating, should one be allowed to publicly shame them, or should this be this information technology law that they have in Saudi Arabia? Let us know your thoughts on this in the space below, and please keep watching TLN News for more stories like this.